Hey there guys, this is Malorian, and this is actually going to be my attempt at an audio battle report. For those of this is not your style, I'm sorry, but I really had a lot of fun with these games. I wanted to convey them across, but I'm an idiot and I forgot my camera. So I don't have anything to give you except for the audio. So for those who maybe want to listen to this while you're painting or whatever, or just want to see me flailing my hands around, this is probably more towards yourself. Now, what this is all about is my buddy Jackson, which I've talked about before, is going to China. And before he goes, he wants to do this one crazy format he had thought of. So basically, how it works is that you get 3 25-point lists. These can be whatever you want, of course, from the same faction, all these things. But here's the real kicker. At the end of this, you combine all of these to be one 75-point list. Now, in doing this, that makes your list selection a lot more interesting. Of course, characters you can only take once per list anyway, but other things like the Squire, where you can only take one of them per list, you can have them in all the 25s, because when you go towards your 75 points combination, well, you can't have 3 Squires there. Plus, there's the issue of you just owning stuff. I mean, if I put a storm wall in each of my lists, well, when it goes up to the 75, first of all, you have to own 3 storm walls, and then lastly, it's also illegal to have 3 storm walls. So it really makes that interesting. Part of this too is that it's also DNC 1, so you get to this kind of thing like, oh, what list am I going to drop? But either way, it's supposed to be like, come out, have fun, and drink. So for my part, I decided to go with Cygnar, because I love Cygnar, and I had the models to make it all work, and I decided to go for the assassination route. So my casters were Kane 2, Striker 2, and Siege. In the Kane 2 list, I didn't have the Squire, I didn't have Reinhold, because that would be in a different list, but instead I had he was running 2 Sentinels, I had 2 units of Press Gangers, and then I had Alexia and Horizon. And that's pretty much it. So basically the whole idea there is kind of jamming, and then he's looking for the assassination. Next up, well, there's Rangers in there of course too, because he loves to have Rangers. Next one up there was the Striker 2 list. This one was quite a bit different. Striker 2 was running the Old Rowdy. I had 2 units of the Stormblades. I also had the max unit of the Sword Knights. Then also the Archduke, and then also the Journeyman Warcaster. So a lot more just punch you in the face. Eventually Striker 2 is going to go Super Saiyan and kill you. Lastly, I had my Siege, and the Siege one was a little bit more of a mix. He was running a Defender, also had the Squire, also had Reinhold with him as well. Then there's also Rangers, Gun Mage with UA, Black 13th, and I think they had like a Stormcaller in there too, just because why not? So with this, all the lists together, I got there, we had 8 people, and one of the things they decided to do too is, even though they set up all the different scenarios around, they decided, you know what, just to make sure to keep this going, and to make sure no one's going to run away, every single game is going to have the kill box artifice. So this is a big deal, because some of these scenarios, they're not really developed to be a kill box thing. For example, if you were playing, say, the Incursion one. If you want to go and dominate the outside flags, well, guess what? You're going to kill box yourself to do that. So, interesting interactions we got there, but it was more, again, just to get the game going and having more fun. So my first game, I'm up against a guy, Nathan. He actually hasn't played in a while, but like half a year, and he plays Retribution. And the biggest thing I want to know in your list is there any Raven, or you're trying to do this stuff to me? And it wasn't. And so I decided to go with Siege, because he can really shoot things down. I felt Siege was one of these lists I want to kind of get out of the way, because I was more comfortable with the other lists. And as well, he had things like, you know, a Colossal in there I might have to destroy. There's some Jacks I might want to shoot down. But overall, I felt like, okay, if this is the one I'm uncomfortable with, and he hasn't played in half a year, let's get this one out of the way. Because I have to play each one once. So I take Siege, he takes Virus 2. He is running in this one a Phoenix, 2 Griffins, and then he also has an Arcanist, group there of the Dawnguard Sentinels, also with UA. And really how this one goes down is that I kind of hold back, try and take some pot shots, not doing too much damage, and then when he comes in, I pop that feat and he's in a lot of trouble. Basically from my feat, I go and I disrupt the Phoenix, so it's not really that big of a deal. Explode one of the Griffins. Another Griffin is tied up, and the Dawnguard Sentinels are just like obliterated. There's like 2 of them left, and he's in a very bad spot. So one of the things he's able to do is the Arcanist goes and he takes off the disruption with his power boost thing, something I forgot he could do, and the Phoenix charges in, misses the charge attack on my defender. Not really a good spot for him to be. Otherwise, he tries to move up and destroy the objective and gets it done eventually with some shooting from Vyros. But now, this is destruction by the way, he's now up 3 control points to nothing. So I knew this was a little bit of a danger, because if I was going to hold back and wait to do this big feat, I had to give him the center of the board. But now he cannot not score again. But that was going to be okay, because really on my turn, the Rangers go, finish off the Dawnguard, the Gun Mages flood the zone, so nothing else is a problem. I destroy the Phoenix, so that's gone. The Griffin is again just kind of like wasting over there, and now he's in a lot of trouble. In his turn, he's trying to do something to get like a desperate assassination. It fails, and then I just kill him and win. Hooray! So there was game number 1. Nice to get that win there. Nice to do it with Siege. But again, this was just lots of fun. I already was into my first glass of Sambuca, and it was just a great time. So game 2, and game 2 is going to be probably one of the better games I've had in a very long time. I was up against Tom Carter. He's part of the Hobby Night in Canada podcast, and this is one where he actually called me. I was like, you know what, Malorian, I want to play you. And so we do this, and this one turns out to be my Kane 2 list versus his Fiona. Now, the last time we played, he dropped his Fiona against my Haley 2, and with all these ninjas, and with the Fiona feat, I just can't hit these things. So a big part of this game was going to be me trying to find some way to either get the assassination or for me to be getting probably magic bullets, because this was another ninja list. What his list there was is that he was running a Nomad. He had his Kayazi with also the Underboss. There were the Eliminators. There were Rupert there so that he can make the defense even higher on those Kayazi. Also had Ayanna Holt, Epic Iris. He had Reinhold as well, but yeah, interesting. Bragman was in there too, but really those Kayazi really had me worried, and for the vast majority of the list, they can't do anything. There's really Kane that can do it, and that's really it. So in this one here, it was really a tough one. He goes first. He's rushing up. The game is actually incursion, so it could come down to scenario, but we're going to fight off these ninjas first. So a very cool thing I did at first turn, or I think it was cool, is I run up with my press gangers and I just go double magic bullet. And I magic bullet, actually tuffed one or if not both of the shots. Both of my tuffed my press ganger, but then the magic bullet goes and jumps and kills his eliminators. So eliminators gone first turn. That was fantastic. Otherwise, everything else is getting pretty cautious and defensive, knowing that I can't avoid the rest of the Kayazi, but trying to minimize my losses and make sure I'll get in corpses for Alexia. So on his turn, his Kayazi go in, they start doing some killing. He has, over on the one side, Epic Iris is trying to make sure he's controlling that one flag, or at least contesting it for my Rangers. A little bit more killing, but nothing too much. So on my turn, I'm kind of wishing on the first turn I would put up True Shot, but I just really need to get some more things dead. So on my turn, I can't see any way of assassination. So again, it's really just me trying to kill off these Kayazi, just trying to now casting on myself. Oh, not even yet. This is more magic bullets. Just trying to shoot something and making it bounce into something else. So I kill like another 3 Kayazi and maybe kill one somewhere else, but that's really it. And really to keep like Alexia alive, I have like a ring of Risen around here just so the assassins can't really get there. On his turn, I start to really feel this pressure. The Kayazi do their mini feat. They're charging all over the place. A lot of stuff are dying. On the one side, Holt is making himself feel, his presence felt. I had gotten an early control point, and now he killed off my Rangers, and now he's able to come up and score on that flag as well. So now it's 1 point to 1 point. That scenario is kind of live, and on the left side, it's kind of a big deal. And I also have the Nomad starting to come at me as well. So I need to find a way to kind of get all these things. And so really what I do is, this is the final turn when I finally get up True Shot, because I have the focus I need to make it happen. And I have to shoot guy that's engaging me, shooting other Kayazi, jumping to others. Really, I'm moving over a Sentinel to contest one flag. I also shoot down Epic Iris this turn, trying to fight the ninjas over here, killing a few more, and now it's at the point where the Kayazi, there's like 3 of them left. So it's really not that bad, and now I'm starting to get a presence, and I might be able to start scoring on the other flag, which would be a huge deal. So on his turn, he's starting to notice that he's really down on models. A lot of my stuff is just like risen though. A lot of my press gangers are dead. So all of a sudden his solos are charging in, right? Like he has Ragman charging in, and Rupert is charging in, and they're trying to get a lot of work done. And, you know, a few more guys are dying. Alexia almost dies, but I'm able to hold this up. And one of the things that was kind of a big loss to him is that his Nomad got 3 focus, tried going after a Sentinel to clear it out of the way, and really just rolled very poorly. So that was a big mistake. Well, not a mistake, a bad luck on his part. So on my side, this is where I want this to be pushed even more. This is the turn here where I'm really trying to finish off all the rest of the Kayazi. I almost have no Risen left, but I use the Risen to pretty much boost my attacks to kill off the rest of the Kayazi, so that's a really big deal for him. I'm not able to kill off a lot of these solos. I think I was able to kill off Ragman and some of this other stuff now, but I'm basically having Kane in the spot where he's right by the freaking Nomad, about like 2.5 inches out, but the Sentinels have to kind of like swerve around so he can't get to me. So given this and seeing that he's lost almost all of his stuff, next turn I'm going to start scoring on different flags, and it won't be very good for him. He says, you know what, I got to find some way to make this happen. So what he does is he comes around with Ayanna and Holt. Ayanna is able to land harm onto me. Holt tries to shoot Kane, misses both shots, and then he comes down on Fiona to try to kill me with the magical assassination, then realizes he's in range of Alexia, so the cost is doubled, and even though he hits me and does a lot of damage, he can't do a second one, and that's the game, because then I just feat and kill her. But wow, it was a pretty crazy game. If I didn't mention it, Fiona feated second turn, so I could basically do nothing to him other than some magic bullet kills. But wow, it was pretty crazy and very, very fun. It was a very, I mean, for 25 points, extremely tense, very back and forth, really much until the end when Fiona failed the assassination. It was always like, oh, this could go either way, even though I was slowly getting that attrition with the magic bullets. So really, really just a great fun game. Last game we had here was going to be a little bit more simple. I was up against Connor, which is the son of Jackson, and he was playing Terminus. This is actually the first time he was playing Crix, just kind of something for fun. And so this is going to be Striker 2 versus Terminus, where normally I'd be very comfortable with this because your armor can be as high as you want. My average POW when I go Super Saiyan is 25, so I'm going to kill you anyway. And in this list, he had kind of like a mix of models, 2 Pistol Wraiths, he has Deathjack in there, Death Ripper, he also has a big unit of Mechanothralls with 2 Brutes in there, and maybe some other solo as well, but I can't really remember anything else. So really this one here, this is one of the 2 circle zones, and on the one side is pretty much everything, and on the other side is really just Deathjack. So I have my army kind of evenly spaced out, but I have Striker on the side of Deathjack. He goes first, kind of moves up. I go second, move up defensively just to kind of be by the zones. Next turn, he's moving up to be a little bit more aggressive, but where this gets me is that I can now charge Deathjack with my Stormblades. And I think this is fantastic. I'm going to get this. They start charging in, and I'm missing all my freaking charges. It's ridiculous. And then so I feel like, okay, well, Striker, he doesn't need to go Super Saiyan. He can charge in here and finish it off, because it took a few damage from the 2 guys that hit, and I can finish it off too. Striker misses his charge attack, does very minimal damage, and at the end of all these Stormblades charging and Striker 2 and the Archduke, Deathjack is only about like 60% dead, and that's really bad. So I decide to pop my feet already here. On the left side, I'm really just spreading out and trying to be a little bit more defensive, stalling things. But with the feet, again, I just keep on missing these attacks, And it really comes down to Striker, like, will Striker stay there and hit, or move my 3 inches away and try and save myself? And I go for the attack, destroy Deathjack, and this is where things really start turning around, because thank God I killed him, otherwise that'd be really bad. But then what happens is that he is mainly over on the 1 circle, I'm over here, and I start to dominate. And that's a big thing with 25-point games, is that the scenario can be more of a factor than normal. So if you lose something on one side, the game can end very fast. And so I score on 1 turn, he can't really get anything over there. You know, he has to like kind of run through his Pistol Wraith, and they come over to contest, and I just kill them. Meanwhile, there's a little bit of fighting here going between my other Storm Blades and my Sword Knights and his Mecha Thralls. But either way, eventually I just keep on clearing that zone, dominating, and then get it by scenario. So pretty good. You know, I went through the whole thing, all of my 25-point lists, and got 3 wins. So that's fantastic. So, like I said, at the end of this, you know, by now I'm 3 glasses of Sambuca in. Now it's time to kind of relax. We have our barbecue, talk about Avengers 2, and now it's time for the big games. And some of the guys have to go home and stuff. And so eventually there's just going to be 4 of us. There's going to be myself, Jackson, the guy running it. There's going to be Tom that I already played against here, and also another guy, Steve. Now, we figure like, okay, we could do the whole 75-point thing, but how about this? How about we do all 4 of us at the same time? And we talk about, should it be 75, 50, what size of board, but this is what we eventually end up. We are going to go with 2 versus 2. And we're going to have it so that it's King of the Hill. So there's a circle in the very center, and everybody's trying to control that. Team members will be on opposite corners. If I can't somehow do this. There we go. That's how it goes. And you're going to be getting 50 points. So basically, pick 2 of your 25-point lists, combine them together, and let's do this and see what happens. So I get paired up with Tom, and what I take for my list is Kane 2 and Siege, because those 2 feats together would be freaking crazy. Tom on the other side there, he takes Durgan, and also I want to say Fiona, but it wasn't Fiona, it was Bart. He took Durgan and Bart. So he has 2 Colossals, an Earthbreaker, and a Galleon. So I mean, that's pretty much all of his list. He has a few others little support things like Press Gangers, but that's really it. Meanwhile, on the other sides, I am going to be having Menoth with Steve, and he was running the Harbinger and also Fiora 2. There is a Judicator in there. There's also a Castigator, which wasn't that big of a deal, and then some Daughters and Bringers of the Flame, stuff like that. Otherwise, on the other side is going to be Jack with his Trolls. He's running Jarl and Gristle, and the big players there is he has a good amount of infantry, but he also has Rock and Mulg. So to my right, I have the Trolls. Above me, I am having the Menoth. And the big problem here is that I have a lot of infantry, and I have a Judicator on the one side, and the other side I have these, you know, Trolls that want to come in there, and he has like the Flame Trolls, the ones that can breathe fire, so they can kill a lot of guys. So and I got a Harbinger. My guys aren't feeling too good, but I feel overall we can make this work. There's lots of terrain, as long as we can kind of hold back the Menoth. I have my Rangers set up, 2 units here now, so they can go up and they can kind of like stall and distract the Menoth. Otherwise, I'm going to surge against the Trolls, try and distract them so the Galleon Earthbreaker can kill off Rock and Mulg, and then after that we should be sitting pretty good. Well, the way it's going to work is that Menoth is going to get a turn, then the Mercenaries will get a turn, Trolls will go, and then I'm last. So he's the guy playing the Menoth. It has this big statue in his way, and he's talking about like, okay, what are the rules for destroying terrain, and look into these. But that son of a bitch totally just tricked me, because instead of going after that statue, he just walks up and shoots at my Rangers. The Rangers are in a forest, so they have stealth, but it doesn't matter. And after the shooting of all those templates at me with a Vassal Shot and all these things, my 12 Rangers are down to 2, and they failed their command. So that's pretty bad. Meanwhile, he has his little, sisters and daughters running up towards the center and then kind of block off the Colossals. On Tom's side there with his Mercs, he goes, kind of comes up, takes a little bit of shots, doesn't get anything too crazy done. It's really just getting those Colossals up the board. Trolls go, and he has Rock and Mull going up towards the heavies, some champions going up there, and down below he has the Fire Eaters that do an assault against me with Quicken. So they're really fast, really dangerous, but I kind of saw this coming, deployed further back, and because we're actually pretty close. The way we made this work, it was a 6x4, and your deployment zone was a foot up, 2 feet out, and then advanced deploys another 6 around this. So since I was further back, he only killed a few guys, like 3 I think it was. I get the corpses, and then he has these Fen Blades just running up. So now it's finally my turn. I don't really have very much to do, so really on the right side, that's where I'm focusing a lot. I try and take a shot with the defender, but he's too far up, so it's really just going up with my 2 casters, trying to set up a spot where I could try and assassinate something from the Menoth side. Unfortunately, I was dumb and I didn't take an extra one from the Squire to actually make a foxhole, so this will come up, but otherwise, with all the shooting on the right, I kill off all the Fire Eaters, and the Fen Blades are down to like 4 models, 2 of them being knocked down. So a big hit for the Trolls. So there's turn 1. Turn 2, Menoth goes, and they freaking go after my 2 casters. And with all these shots on them, and I mean, like Harvey puts up her feet, they're shooting at my casters. Kane gets hit for a good one with a blast damage, and he loses 5 damage. I have both casters on fire, 2 jacks on fire, and it just really sucks. The nice thing though is that Harbinger is kind of up in the open. There is a shield guard there, but there's also Fiora 2 has a Castigator in front of it, and then the shield guard behind. So I'm kind of looking at this with Siege, where he can do his little slam and then go for a feat and all this stuff. The bad news is with all these scatters, I lose Reinhold and I also lose a Squire. So that really sucked, and I'm just going to have to wait to see on my turn what the fire does to me. So now we go up to the mercenary side, and this is where it just gets nutso. With the feet up, there's not very much he can do with sitting over his press gangers, so he really focuses up onto Rock and Mulk. And between the Earthbreaker and also the Galleon, both those heavies go down. So the Troll player is in a very horrendous spot. He does have the champions coming up, but a lot of them are knocked down. There's some Nists that have the Explosivo or whatever on them. They're going against them. That's not what these champs want to see. Yeah, the Troll player is in a very, very bad spot. So Troll player goes for his turn 2, and his only beast now is like a Power Troll. His last few little infantry trying to attack me at the bottom, but they're like missing their attacks. Oh no, or I tough. That's the thing. Whenever you tough against Trolls, that's extra insulting. So nothing's going up down there. The champs are trying to kill Nist, but then the Nists are exploding and killing off the champs. So things, like I said, are not going well for them. So really, the Troll player is pretty much done. On my turn, this is where he can first score. So on the first turn, I made a Thrall with Alexia that's been working its way towards the hill in the center. So on my turn, he can go up there. I'll get 1 point and starting off the scenario. But we really look at it as like, we could probably finish things up right here. I can kill up the last few Trolls, infantry, and then there's going to be just a wave of stuff going after the casters. In the center here, here's the biggest thing. The fire goes out on both my casters, and all of a sudden, with not taking that damage, I'm in a lot better spot. So looking at this and seeing the powerful position we're in, knowing that even if I fail something, we're probably going to be okay because the Menoth side is so far back. You know, the sisters that were trying to go up, I had shot them down, so they're not around the hill. Scenario's going to be a real problem. I decide to go for it. So Siege goes up, pops feet, does the whole slam magic spell into the Castigator. That hits the Castigator into Fiora and into the shield guard. So with the feet, she takes, you know, some good damage, and then the shield guard is down. Everything is knocked down there. So then on my side there as well, I take a shot into her and kill her. I already also had some focus on the defender, so I could have shot there too, but all of a sudden Fiora 2 is down, she's dead, and that means the Castigator, or sorry, not the Castigator, the Vindicator, or what's the thing called? The Judicator, there you go, that big colossal, goes, it goes inert because the caster just died. So that's going to be a huge blow to them to try and come back and do anything. And I figure, you know what, let's try this. I am now camping with my 6 on Kayn. I walk into Harvey's feet, don't really take a lot of damage because now all of a sudden I'm armor 19, so it's dice -5, and after I pop feet, I kill Harvey, and they say like, okay, that's game over. The Menoth player is basically out of it as he's lost both casters. The Troll player is basically out of it because they've lost all of their army, and yeah, it's pretty much good. So in a way, it wasn't a good game because we only played 2 turns, but it was a really fun game. Just something different, how often you get to do like 2 casters and as a team and all this different setup. So really, really fun. And I think that's really the real reason. I mean, I really wish I had a camera for this. If I had a camera, especially for my game against Menoth, for the one that's Kayn 2 versus Fiona, and for the team game at the end, man, do I wish I could give those battle reports, but I can't. And so one of the things I want to really portray at the end of this video here is just the fact of how fun this event was. It wasn't your standard thing of 50 points, steamroller, here's your official scenarios and all this stuff. It was, you know what, bring 3 25-point lists, let's have some fun, let's have some barbecue, and just have some great fun games. And sometimes you think about the worst of that, right? Like, oh, 25 points, things will be really paper, rock, scissors. And sometimes there were those matchups. But overall, everyone was there just to have fun, and we did. We had a really great time, and really that team game at the end, that was just great. I mean, probably the whole thing only took about an hour and a half, even though we had a good 200 points down on the board, and it was just had all these interesting new scenarios that you never really saw before. So there you go. There's your battle reports. 4 battle reports in about half an hour. That's not too bad, right, guys? But either way, what I want to get across here is if you're one of these people that always just does regular steamrollers, try these different formats sometimes. You know, try changing up the scenarios. Have fun with it. And either way, we'll catch you later. So don't worry. There will be more real tournaments coming up, of course, steamrollers and stuff. But here's something fun in the meantime. So either way, thanks for watching, and bye.